What's up, guys? This is Derek with Team Evolution Rush of IKORR, and the video I'm about to show you right now is a little bit different than my normal videos. I'm going to kind of walk you through more of the loop, the deck out loop that I discovered by playing Shimukane. If you saw my deck profile, I kind of went over the deck and kind of the whole, the whole point of this deck is to deck out your opponent, but the loop that you can do with it is pretty frustrating if you're against it. And just kind of playing around with it a little more, I discovered that you can kind of take it up a notch and do things a little bit more differently if you have the right cards. And it creates a pretty toxic situation. And that's kind of why I'm showing this to everybody, because I just want it to be known. I want it to be aware. I want people to be aware that this is something that you can do. Because stuff like this in any card game is just not fun to play against. And while I don't think anybody's even doing this or maybe even cares about this, it's just something to take a look at. At the end of it, honestly, I think, maybe down the line, I know there's not really any competitive play right now, but I think one of these two cards should probably get banned. I think Stargazer universally is just really powerful. Shock is kind of what enables what I'm about to show you, but I think either of these cards are bannable. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of walk you through it. I know that it does take a lot of cards to set this up, but the way this game plays and the way that this deck plays, it's not hard to get to this point. So yeah, well, I'll just kind of show you what's going on and how we're decking our opponent out, and yeah. So the whole first point of this is the cards that you even need to do this is obviously Stargazer. Well, you don't need Stargazer, but if you have Stargazer, it makes it 10 times worse, which is why the card is in my opinion bannable. Shock, which is pretty much the enabler for all of this. And then other pieces to this combo is Amaterasu's Dawn, which is a huge component because it doubles all the summons. Vision Serpent, because it helps us pull the Shock out of the grave at a cheap cost. Grim Calabash, this has to be on the board, so you can get the additional refresh. Having Swift Messenger in the graveyard or just access to this during all this is nice because it allows you to draw a ton of cards to just keep things moving. Sorry, one more random Reborn card, which you don't have to have, but if you do, it makes everything just more complete. And you can either draw it off Messenger if you just have one at this point in the game. And then the Vizier, the Camuso. Vizier scraps 2, but also technically mills a card with its own ability. So both of those in tandem activating twice off the Dawn means you're milling your opponent for 6 cards. And then Camuso will bounce itself as well as another champion because you can retreat target allied champion. So if it's triggering twice, you can bounce something else plus itself. But then we also have Salt Block attached to it, which means that target player draws a card, then discards a card at random. So we're technically milling them another 2 cards every time we play this. So these together create an 8-card mill, which is pretty annoying. So here's how it looks. So we just have to get to a point to 10 influence, right? Which can be achievable as early as turn 8, because if you ramp with the Shimukane at some point in the game, on turn 8, you'll technically be at 9 influence, and then if you have the Stargazer and you play it, then you can obviously go up to past that. So, but if you don't have the Stargazer, you just have to wait until turn 9 or 10. No big deal. But here's how it works. So Swift Messenger and Shock. We need Shock in the grave, but hopefully we have Swift Messenger in the grave as well. We need Calabash on the board, and our hand just basically needs to be potentially a Stargazer, but more than likely, or more important, sorry, Dawn, Serpent, and like these, right? And then if we draw into one of these, great. Doesn't have to be there. The Stargazer is just an added bonus. I'm going to show you this loop with the Stargazer because the Stargazer loop is, in my opinion, where it's just more problematic. So here's where we're at. We have 10 influence for the turn, okay? And what we're going to start our turn off with is by activating Dawn. So now all of our summon triggers, our summons abilities trigger twice. And then we're going to play Stargazer. Okay, so Stargazer is going to give us 2 now for the turn, 1 for each summon trigger happening. So we have now 6 available influence, but our maximum at the moment is now 12. It's now, because don't forget, Stargazer has the ruling that it can push you over 10. That's why this is also important, okay? Thanks to that ruling, this is the thing. I probably should have mentioned that, but Stargazer will allow you to go past 10 influence, which is important. So we're at 6 available, but our maximum is now 12, okay? Okay, So now we pay 3 for a Komuso. Two things happen. First, our opponent's going to draw a card and discard a card twice. We're now 2 cards milled, okay? Then we're going to bounce back the Stargazer, and then with the second trigger, bounce itself back. Perfect. Now we're going to play the Stargazer again, and we're going to, guess what? Get 2 more influence that are available. So now we're back up to 5. Our maximum for the turn is now 14. So we do it again. Make our opponent draw another card twice, discard twice, and we're going to bounce the Stargazer and the Komuso again. Okay, so now our opponent has now already milled 4 cards technically at this point in time. Now we're going to play the Stargazer a third time. We're going to go back up to 2 or to 4. Now our maximum for the turn is 16. Okay, now this time we're going to pay the 4 and we're going to play the Vision Serpent. The Vision Serpent will pull the shock out of the grave, and that now gives us all of our influence back for the turn, including the 6 influence that we have gained for the turn off of Stargazer. So now we have 16 influence to work with. Okay, so, and we have presumably both of these and potentially the Swift Messenger in the graveyard. So this is where we can kind of just continue to manipulate things. So you can do one of two things, and this totally just depends on how far you want to take this. Also depends on if you have another rebirth spell. But what you could do in this situation, right, is you could start off with the Swift Messenger, so paying 2 out of your 16 with Shroud of Yomi to bring it back, or if you just have it in your hand, that'd be great, but we're going to treat it like it's in the grave. And then paying the 3 to summon it, or to play it. So now we draw 4 cards, because we're drawing 2 cards twice. And then we still have 11 left, okay? So now what we can do, if we want to, is we can play the Vizier, right? And mill our opponent for 4 or for 6 cards now, which on top of the 4 that they already did off the Komuso, they're now 10 cards down. And then we can play the Komuso. So the Komuso is now going to bounce. Well, there's 2 ways you can do this. Let me put it this way. Well, Komuso is going to mill another 2 cards. Now your opponent's 12 cards deep that they've milled, okay? Now we still have Calabash, and we still have our Avatar's ability, but here's what you can do in this situation. You can do a couple things. You can bounce the Scheming Vizier and the Komuso back, and then play the Vizier combo again, and then blow it up with Calabash. The second thing that you can do, and this is what I would think would make the most sense actually, is bounce back the Swift Messenger and then bounce back the Komuso. The reason for that is we're going to then spend 3 to play the Swift Messenger again. So now that we brought back the Swift Messenger, or played it again rather, guess what we're going to do? Draw another 4 cards. Now what we're trying to do by drawing all these cards is really drawing more rebirth spells. Now of course there's going to be more cards in your graveyard obviously at this point in the game, not just what's here, but either way, we're 8 cards in, which hopefully means, this is just a bunch of random cards, but hopefully we can either get another Vision Serpent, another Defiler, or another Osiris Reborn. That's what we want to try and dig for, right? But now we have 1 influence left, but we have Grim Calabash. So now we're going to blow up the shock, and we're going to refresh 10 of that, which takes us back up to 11, but our cap is still 16. So remember that, okay? Now, we still have the Komuso in hand, plus the other 8 cards that we have. So there's a lot of good cards in the deck. There's probably a lot of other things that we can be doing. Maybe you drew the other Scheming Vizier. Who knows? But with our now 11 influence, we can kind of start to repeat this. So we can go, like if you didn't draw a rebirth spell, then you can kind of just loop the Komuso and the Vizier again and just make your opponent mill another, what, 2, 3, another 16 cards on top of the 14 that you've already made a mill, which is 30 cards. So by that point in the game, you're probably just definitely decking them out. Or you can go, okay, Komuso, and do the same thing. Bounce the Stargazer, bounce the Komuso, right? So this is where this gets crazy, because if you have just 1 rebirth spell in your hand, this is where it's like, it's unstoppable. Okay, so we play the Stargazer, or sorry, we play the Komuso for 3. So we had 11, we pay 3, so now we're at 8, okay? And then we play the Stargazer. Stargazer puts us 2 more, so we're back at 10. Now our maximum's 18, okay? And guess what? And then they mill 2 more cards, technically. Then we play the Komuso. We do it again. So we're down to 7. And Then we play the Stargazer again, and we get back up to 9. But now our maximum is 18. Did I say 18? 16? Sorry, 18, 20. Our maximum is 20, okay? So basically every time you do it, your maximum goes up 2, but you're paying 1 less to do it, right? So my point is, okay, now we're paying 3 again. We have 6 left. Bounce, bounce, and our maximum is currently 20. We play it again. We go up 2 to 8 available. Now our maximum is 22. We pay 3, so there's 5 left to play the Camuso. Do it again. Play the Stargazer. Now we're up to 7, okay? And then we pay, our maximum is now 24. We pay 3 for the Camuso. They milled another 2, 4, 6 cards. Bounce it back. Then we do it again. Now we're up to 6. We pay 3. Our maximum is now 26. Play the Camuso. They milled 2 more cards. Bounce it again. Play the Stargazer again. Get 2 more back. Now we're at 28 is our maximum. And then at this point, if we have 5 left and you have, say, Curse of the Defiler, if it's Curse of the Defiler, if it's Osiris Reborn, then you're just going to do this a turn previous. If it's Vision Serpent, then you can do what just happened one more time. But you play Curse of Defiler, bring back the Shock, and guess what? Now we have 28 influence in this particular instance, all refreshed, which means you can go infinite here, more or less, right? You can basically go, okay, well, now we're just going to play this, bounce back Swift Messenger and Camuso, play the Messenger, draw 4 more cards. We'll pay 2 to blow this up. Maybe we drop a Anubis, which is going to come out for free because if you blew it up with your Avatar ability, it makes this cost less than what this is cost. So now we play this for 0. You mill 6 cards. Who cares? Your opponent's going to void every champion in their grave that you just milled. And if you need to, you can just keep bouncing these, keep playing those to mill them another, 8 to 16 cards. You hear my point here, right? Can you see what I'm saying? If you play 2 copies of Calabash and you happen to then play a second copy of Calabash and you blow up the Shock with that Calabash, that gives you another 10 that you can work with. But when you have that setup, you can basically go infinite with the Stargazer and the Camuso. You can draw a bunch of cards here. Every time you play the Camuso, your opponent's milling 2 cards. And all you have to do is get Vizier off maybe 3-4 times. And now all of a sudden your opponent's deck is gone. You're more than likely going to void everything if Anubis if you have it. And you're going to draw 8 to 12 cards, which means that even though your deck is going to be close to being gone too, you have all the resources that you need to just win the game at that point. So hopefully that all made sense. And yes, I understand it takes a lot of cards to accomplish this. I understand that, but it doesn't matter because the setup is not as difficult as it seems. When you have Descent into Yomi to, oh, did I draw that when I draw all these cards? When you have Descent into Yomi to put Shock in the grave or put Swift Messenger in the grave, you have cards like this that if you also draw this and you just get free reusability off of everything, which is so ridiculous. Devoted Militia, get back a champion. You have recycling with Chichen Itza. There's just so many things that you can do that it's actually just borderline unfair. It is unfair if you were to come across this. So am I saying a deck like this or this type of strategy is viable? I mean, honestly, there's not even really enough data to say that it's not, right? I mean, if there was a tournament of 32 people, and this was a deck that showed up with all the stun and all the ability to kind of hold on up until this point, on top of having cards like Great End, maybe you play Amaterasu's Brilliance for just more stunning. Like, there's just so many things that you can do and accomplish. Who knows? But it's the only avatar that can do this. And it's really, the culprits are this, and to some capacity this. And also to some capacity this, right? So I don't know. That's it. I just wanted to show that to you guys. It's nothing overly important. Just a random thought that you can just abuse the hell out of Stargazer with Camuso and the double summon triggers and Shock. And it's interesting. So take it as you will. I do think Stargazer should either be banned or get eroded to be a Fabled champion so you can't attach infusions to it. Or maybe just make it cost 1. I don't know. Or obviously, like Shock, maybe it's the culprit here. Maybe you ban Shock, so it just completely shuts off the ability to refresh things. I'm not really sure. I mean, right now the deck's not a threat. It's just this is something that I think everybody should be aware about. So that's it. I got some more videos I'm still working on, but I just wanted to take the time to show this to you guys. Thank you. Team Evolution out.